I really want to start by, I can't begin to, of course, thank all of you, because I know, of course, wherever you travel from to get here, how important that is, and more importantly, the work that you are doing here today. So I want to thank all of you. I know many of you are here for the first time, almost 60% of you, and of course, the last time, of course, the rest of you came again. Whatever we did the last time, clearly we did something right that caused you to come. We're going to do this again next year, and of course, you'll bring another person with you. So rather than having 341, as James will tell you, we'll have 642. I want to, of course, you give the Minister of Labour, a good friend of ours, of course, an opportunity to say a few words. Some of you, of course, were meeting with many of her caucus members yesterday. She's one of her closest allies in the cabinet, and the many responsibilities she has. Directly for the issues that we're working on. And of course, at the end of the day, there's many issues we're working on this government. We have prioritized 3 issues that are very important for us, but there's many other issues, of course, we're working with this minister and her government in, and there's a lot of cooperation in that relationship. Does that mean we're going to agree on everything? Hey, listen, I couldn't agree with you guys on everything in this room, so I don't think I would agree with the government on everything. So the reality is, I do want you to know that, of course, we truly have a great friend. She's from Thunder Bay. For those from the north of Ontario, put your hand up. If you're from Thunder Bay, there's a couple anyway. So she's your member of parliament, but more importantly, of course, I want to introduce you to the Minister of Labour, Employment, Social Development,
etc.
Working already. There you go. Patty, how you doing, Minister?
I've been doing it for 4 weeks, but I finally have it now. It's employment, workforce development, and labor. But in the spirit of clear language, I'd like to rename it the Minister of Work and Learning, because essentially that kind of captures really what this portfolio is. It's a joy to be here. It's been a joy to get to know some of you over the last little while in the 4 weeks that I've been doing this job. And I have to say that this government profoundly believes in the value of labor, the labor movement, and unions. And a strong union presence in our country is actually essential to our government's goal of maintaining and growing the middle class. It is critical. So what I can say to you is that I know that you've been busy lobbying your MPs. Keep it up, because I think that that's a fundamental piece of a healthy democracy, is making sure that that we're having those really difficult conversations. We're not afraid of difficult conversations. This government is not afraid of that. As Hassan said, we may not always agree. We may not always agree on the policy mechanism. We may not always agree on the speed of the implementation of these mechanisms, but what we can all agree on is that people have the right to good, decent work that's stable, that provides them with the security that they need to thrive, and that helps them foster their children and the future generations coming after them. And so that's going to be my focus in actually both the learning portfolio and in the labor portfolio, because they go together, don't they? We have to make sure that people have the skills that they need for an evolving economy. There's no denying that our economy is evolving, and we also see labor shortages in a whole bunch of sectors that we haven't quite frankly focused on over the last decade or so, that we need to actually be making sure that we have the plumbers and the welders and the construction workers that we need. But we also need to understand that our workforce is evolving, and so we need those coders and graphic designers and web programmers as well. And so my job will be to make sure that we have a skill set in Canada that can meet those evolving needs, fill in the gaps that we see, and make sure that people have good, decent work when they actually land those jobs. So I'm really looking forward to working with you. I know that some of the things you've been talking about are things that include pay equity, for example. I'm very excited. As a former Minister of Status of Women, I never thought it would be me that would be actually working on implementation. So this is a real honor for me to work on those things. And,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Minister, thanks very much. You know, one of the big issues, of course, we were working on is on Bill C-27. This obviously is a piece of legislation. We have some problems with, and I can say without much further ado, of course, did talk with, of course, Minister Morneau's staff in regard to the way forward. The government has agreed to part the legislation. And they're going to sit down, of course, and engage us in the conversations, but areas of the bill, of course, which we have some tremendous problem with. I know this, we can figure out how to do this in a way if we have some input. And I really want to, of course, thanks Minister Morneau, but also thanks Patty and our colleagues, of course, who have been raising their concerns around their cabinet table for that. Because without us, of course, many of the workers in this country that enjoy pensions will not have pensions. We're the people who go constantly at the bargaining table and negotiate pensions, and we don't want the legislation is going to undermine our ability to do our job, of course, and to ensure our members are going to continue to have good pensions in this country. The next issue, of course, is pay equity. The Minister talked about this as an important issue that we have to deal with. It is, of course, 2016. I think there's a deep commitment on the government's part to bring in a proactive pay equity legislation. Of course, that's the challenge. They say 2008, we say sooner. So I'm sure we're going to find some common ground as to how we go forward. But the one important thing, of course, that the previous government has passed is a legislation, those in the public service know is called PSECA. It's not the drink, it's the legislation. There is a drink actually too, by the way. PSECA. I've talked, of course, to Minister Scott Bryson, and the government never had any intention, of course, of implementing that legislation. And within the next little bit, they'll figure out whether it's an order of council, whatever is necessary to reassure us they will not allow that legislation to determine the direction of pay equity in the federal public service in this country. One other minister I do want to acknowledge because she was here because of the last lobby. Judy Foote is here, of course, the minister responsible, of course, for public works. And she was instrumental in the work we did in regard to winning the ban on asbestos. I want to, of course, thank her for the leadership she's shown. Building and growing the registry that we have established, and I'm sure within the next little bit, of course, the regulations will come in forth. We will, of course, start the work that needs to happen at the provincial level. Every year, 2,000 Canadians die in this country because of asbestos. For many decades, we campaigned, of course, to end the use of this terrible substance, both in terms of use, but also import and export. And what we have got from the government, what was promised in December, is to complete a ban on import and a ban on export. They're also going to go to the convention, of course, the Rotterdam Convention meeting this spring, and I know for a fact it's hard for us not to sign on to that important international convention, because it's not just Canadian workers who are dying from asbestos. It's about 100,000 workers around the world who die from this disease every single year in the world. It's unacceptable. It's a dangerous substance. So I want to end tonight, my friend. We also started the work today, of course, on pharmacare. This is important work. And why is it important? We're the fortunate one. Every one of us probably have a collective agreement where we have a benefit plan that's going to provide us with the medication and whatever else we need. Oh, by the way, for 300,000 Canadians, this is not the reality. And you know those 300 Canadians, your neighbors, kids, their grandparents. That should not happen. We're a rich country, we can figure this out. And I know we'll figure it out, because just like we figured out how to create a national healthcare system, we'll figure out how to work with this government to build a national pharmacare program. But in addition to that, we also have to work with the provinces. We cannot do this alone. We have to work with the federal government, but we also have to work with the provincial government. So I want to end and say to all of you, the hard work you did today did make a difference. And I'm hoping, as you will pay attention to the work we will do over the next number of weeks and months ahead, we will keep you informed, of course, of the victories and the success we're having. We don't expect to win all these battles in one lobby that we come on the hill. But I know when you go back to your community, go back to your workplace, you'll talk to your members, you'll talk to your neighbors, and by the way, you'll go and visit your MP again in the local community with 10 other sisters and brothers, and remind them of the issues we brought here today. This is the lifeblood of our democracy. When you're not here, other people are here lobbying our government. And we need to remind our government, of course, there's 3.5 million of us, there's over 4 million trade unions in this country. If you take us out of the economy, every single week we put over close to $900 million extra in the economy. It will be a different kind of economy. We're a vital part of this. I'm hoping between this week and next week, maybe the Senate will do the right thing and pass C4. There's one piece of legislation we need to get off the books of the Senate. So thank you all very much for what you do, and Mr. Haidu, thank you so much for coming here tonight, and thank you for the leadership you're showing on behalf of your government. Thank you.